didn't win their last match, but they will qualify with Australia, who beat West Indies very comfortably. But South Africa actually beat England by 10 runs, a game of, well, there's certainly lots of entertainment, some massive sixes, with Liam Livingstone hitting 112 metres out of the ground. We've seen a hat-trick, a most unusual hat-trick, claimed by Rabada, of 2 catches out at deep square leg, and the hat-trick taken by a catch at long off. All 3 would have gone for 6 while the fielders there, but that's T20 cricket in the closing stages, and you can't exactly block a hat-trick ball if you're coming out, can you? So we'll look back at the Australian game briefly shortly, but as far as this one's concerned, and England, of course, that we're focusing on at the moment, well, they put South Africa into bat. They finished with 189 for 2. Bearing in mind the qualifications and so on, they had to beat England by around about 60 runs in order to go through themselves. Just a straightforward win wasn't enough. And England had to score 87 out of that 189 for 2 for them to go through and make their position safe. So there's a bit of calculation work going on at the same time. De Kock made 34, Hendricks 2, but then this brilliant partnership of 103 in 52 balls in Van der Dussen, who made 94 from 60 balls, and Markram, who made 52. It was an absolutely superb partnership. They scored 71 off the last 5 overs. The last 10 overs yielded 116 runs. There were 10 sixes struck. Very, very entertaining. They were absolutely, well, sweat was pouring off them, and it was a terrific effort, really. Bowling wise, Moeen Ali again opened and bowled his 4 through, 1 for 27 from 4 overs. Woke's got a bit of a hammer at the end, 43 from his 4. Rashid 1 for 32. Jordan no wicket for 36, bowled really well at death. And Mark Wood, a bit expensive but rusty, 4 overs for 47. I was looking at my screen and I can see Jason Roy on crutches, which is a very sad sight, and we'll have to wait news about his prospects of staying in the tournament, because when England went out to bat again, they got a good start. They got to 38, and Roy then did what appeared to be a calf strain, and he had to be helped from the ground. He was out for 20. I say we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Butler just 26 today, but he played some good shots in that as well. Bairstow at LBW early to Shamsi for 1. That was 59 for 2. Moeen out for 37, caught in the deep again off Shamsi. That was 110 for 3. 145 for 4 when Malanu made 33, was caught by Rabada off Pretorius. Livingstone played some outrageous shots. 3 sixes he hit in his 28 from 16 balls, one of which I think is still going down Sharjah High Street. He was out with a score of 165 for 5. And then this remarkable hat-trick from Rabada started with Wokes, caught by Nokia off Rabada for 7. That was out at deep mid-wicket. Then Morgan, who was also caught out of that area off Rabada for 17. Batsman having crossed, of course, when that one was in the air. And then first ball, Jordan came in with 12 or 13 needed to win. He had no choice but to go for it, and he slammed a catch to long off. So Rabada celebrated a hat-trick, quite literally with a big smile on his face, as England failed to win by 10 runs. They did 14 off the last over, and they didn't get there. So I've got Carlos Brathwaite, I've got Phil Tufnell, I've got Andy Zoltzman to run a statistical eye over that. So let's start with you, Tuffers, because here you are. We haven't seen you, I don't think, with England for a little while. I mean, are they going to be damaged by that defeat?
Listen, you're probably going to lose one in the group stages. So why not use the last one? But obviously getting over the line as well. The one thing that was just noted there for me a little bit is the miss of Timel Mills on a game like that, when a partnership develops and can keep going, and at the back end of the game England just looked a bit rattled, didn't they?
Fielding wasn't good.
And I just saw the likes of Chris Wokes getting a bit of tap, and the England bowlers, a couple in there. Wood went for 40 odd as well. You're not going to probably get that off of Timel Mills, so that might be a bit concerned. Also Jason Roy, as you said earlier there, he's going to be a big miss up the front. A Jason Roy that's in form and flying is very, very dangerous up top. So there'll be a few concerns. It was going swimmingly well for England, wasn't it? And they were cruising, and now there's just a few things popped up, but that's the whole nature of the game.
Yeah. Carlos, it's an interesting decision someone's going to make about Roy, isn't it? Because the final's not until a week tomorrow.
What, calf?
If you replace him, he's out. You can't bring him back in again.
I can't see how he can play. The thing is, the high intensity that this game is played at now, even if scientifically he'd be fit, mentally you got to set off for a run or you got to sprint to save 2 in the outfield. He's not going to be 100%. And I mean, with the quality and depth that England have, they don't need to carry a Jason Roy. So it's unfortunate for him. But it's also, you're trying to win a tournament and you can't always be sentimental. And as much as they would love to win the tournament with him in the 11, it might just be a step too far because of the injury, unfortunately.
Yeah. Who'll be coming in?
Well, they're carrying James Vince with them, aren't they?
I mean, for a very good player, James Vince.
Sub, yeah.
So there's not a huge sort of miss, but Jason Roy can be devastating when he gets going, especially on flat pitches.
Yeah.
But with Vince walk into the 11, or would Bairstow open and you play Billings in the middle order?
Yeah, well, I'd open with Bairstow, I think.
Well, there you go. That'll be the decision they'll have to think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What do you think?
New
Zealand. If it's New Zealand, they tend to start off with the quicker bowlers, which Bairstow tends to like. Opens in the 50 overs.
Yeah, New Zealand would normally bowl the 3 pacers, 2 each. So yeah, you could go Bairstow, then have Billings in the middle, who's not a bad player, spin himself.
Yeah.
It gives you the right-hand option that we'll be missing with Bairstow in the middle, and it allows Morgan, Bairstow and Livingston to float. These are good problems there. These are good problems
as you said, there's so much depth there. There is so much depth there. But then, is it difficult for someone like a Vince just to come into that game?
Well, sort of going back to my point again, where if there's the slightest thought
in T20, is it just...
But the thing is, if there's any parallels to this World Cup and the last... We had a situation with Fletcher pulling a calf or a hammy or something like that in the Afghanistan game or the game before, which would have been the last preliminary game. And the semi-finals, Lando Simmons walked straight off the plane, 80-yard, through to the finals.
There you go.
But if there's the slightest chance of Roy being fit for the final, they don't necessarily have to rule him out for the semi-final.
And replace him. So just drop him out to the 11.
It's only a thought. Sometimes these injuries do look bad to start with, and if they think, come on, you can get through. I know there's a risk that you can't get a field replacement if he breaks down and you're down to 10 men in the field. But,
that's a big risk in the field.
It is.
Massive risk. 10 men in the field, you've had it.
Yeah.
So you'll just be targeted.
Yeah.
On Bairstow as a T20 opener, he's done so 15 times at England in internationals. Hasn't done massively well, 3 half centuries amongst that. Average 25, but in franchise T20 cricket, it's been a pretty successful opener going back to the start of 2017, averaging 40 with a tremendous strike rate of 148. So I think he'd be a good option to open the batting,
especially against a team like New Zealand that does start off with those quicker bowlers, perhaps, rather than the spinners. It's good that Mark Wood got a run out today in a game that
he looked rusty.
Obviously, it mattered, but he's got some overs under his belt now.
It looked a little bit rusty to me. Wasn't willing to sort of throw in enough slower balls of variety, because when you're just coming into a game like that, perhaps you just want to feel your way a little bit and just go to what you know works. But when he started, throwing in those odd slower balls towards the end of his spell, he just looked like he was sort of like getting into it. It does take a couple of overs, doesn't it, to get yourself sort of like into a game as a bowler, and especially a quick bowler. But he looked like he bowled with pace. So good to see him getting a run out in a way.
Yeah. Do you take Tuffer's point about Tim Mills and that actually they could miss?
Yeah,
could miss that variety.
100%. Because I bat at the back end, and if I come into bat in the 15th over, and you got 4 overs of Mills and Jordan, well, sonny boy, whoever's bowling the 15th over, you got to go. But if with all due respect to Wood and Walks, were very good bowlers, but at the death is a lot about reputation, and you find the best death bowlers get away with just that bit more, because of the reputation. So you almost start to set your stall up for what's going to happen from over 7 to 16, because you're basically saying, look, in these last 4 overs, it's going to be tough. Whereas if you don't have that Mills and Jordan partnership of 4 overs in the back end, all of a sudden you can set your game up slightly different, backing yourself, and all of a sudden you start to go through the gears as opposed to panicking, knowing that the 4 overs are basically door closed.
And it's interesting what you say about that reputation. Even though you know where they're going to bowl and what they're going to bowl, it's still tough. I mean, I know you don't know when they're going to bowl it.
But that's the thing with Mills. With Mills, you don't know he can bowl, because he got that pace on ball at 90 odd. He got a back of the hand slowly, and within those 2 different paces, you got different lines and different lengths, and you can see the way that did for Southern Brave in the 100. Literally, you know, them last 20 balls, if you get 30 runs, you're happy.
Yeah.
Whereas with other bowlers, you're looking to probably get 35, 40, and you're sure of getting it. You're looking to go at 10, 12 or over in the back end. With them, they could easily go at 6 or over in the back end and get you wickets, which breaks your momentum. So mentally, it can just be a little bit easier for other teams to plan the latter phase of the innings.
And of course, he just adds that left arm variety, doesn't
Yes.
he? Which is, you know, so crucial in T20. He can get you just hitting one side of the ground as well. So
it's a bit of work for these bowlers to do then.
well, yeah, they've got to step up. They've got to realise. They've got to realise that
Yeah.
now their job has just become that little bit tougher.
Yes.
You know, you can't go, here, come on, Tim L, you know, blast one round the ears of some fella who perhaps isn't to fancy the short ball quite so much, or, you know, come in and break that partnership. I mean, it would have been perfect for him now. As you say, when that partnership developed between Van der Dussen
Yes,
and Markram,
yeah.
you can be guaranteed that Tim L would have been brought back and tried to break that.
Yes.
And you talk about momentum, it's not only about wickets. You get to that 13th, 14th over and you realise, boom, these men starting to mash the accelerator. They started to think, cool, let me get my wicket taking option back in, because if they try to block him out or he can stem the flow of runs, then all of a sudden they're trying to go from gear 4 down to 2 and then straight back up to 4th gear again to get momentum. So you've broken the momentum and you give the bowler that comes on at the other end a chance to get a wicket. So just having that perception of a quality bowler at the back end that someone fears does so much. And I hope, obviously, for Wokes, who's probably one of my favourite cricketers, and for Wood's sake, that they get it right. But just talking about the mentality from the opposition going into that back end is definitely different to facing a Tamar Mills.
I can see Owen Morgan giving an interview, which we'll hear shortly.
Didn't look happy, did he?
Well, he didn't. I'll be
No,
interested.
he
Dear old Pommy Mbang was interviewing him, so hopefully he'll get in there and ask him what's going on, you know, if he was happy with it all, because it didn't look to be very, did he? There was certainly, there was that period suddenly where
Wheels came off, John.
Yeah, there were
They
two
looked
overthrows,
rattled.
and Mark Wood needlessly hoofed
Well, that was silly.
a big right foot at the ball and sent it off wide of Butler
Yeah.
for another overthrow. And, you know, in T20 cricket, I mean, just 1 or 2 runs.
Well, I think there was probably more than 1 or 2 occasions. There must have been, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 runs, perhaps just given away in overthrows and needless sort of shies at stumps and volleys into the top corner, let alone a few other little sort of like just jittery bits of fielding. How many did England lose by 10?
Yeah.
You know, there's the game there.
It must be hard, Carlos, when the ball's flying all over the place. We'll talk about Rassi van der Dussen and Markram in a second, but yeah, it's easy for us sitting in here, isn't it? You know, eating a cake. You know, and
Which is delicious, by the way.
I haven't tried it yet. I think
No,
it's
it's
punishment.
lovely. I think it's caramel
But
sort of thing.
it's sweltering hot, and you've got the pressure, and you know you're actually out there doing it. You know, I don't know how do you keep your calm? How do you manage to take that deep breath? And, you know, Mark Wood, don't kick the ball like that. You know, all the games you've played, you don't need to do
The
that.
thing is with T20, in Test cricket, you could probably just take a little bit of a break. In T20, and I had an embarrassing experience in the 100 aggers when Leeds, Yorkshire, Northern Superchargers got 200 against us. No, the ball was flying. The ball was flying.
That's
The
a
ball
lot in
was flying.
100.
So that's equivalent to a 240 in the T20 game.
Wow.
And it is difficult.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is not always that you aren't cool. Sometimes things just go against you. In that game, we had 4 drop chances. It all went for 4.
Yeah.
So it's just sometimes, if it is to your own downfall, or your own detriment, your own doing, then fine, you can buck the trend and, you know, just be calm. Sometimes you are calm. Sometimes you are trying. You just might miss by this much. The batter might have a day out or whatever. In the case of England, they should be happy that it happened today.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a wake-up call going
Yes.
into a big game. We're taking our foot off the pedal. We've not won the tournament. The bigger goal is to win the tournament. And I spoke to Jordan a little while back about something completely different. And I told him how well they're playing. And he was like, nah, we started well. We're not playing well. We're starting well. The big picture is the tournament.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that we want to settle for. So in the grand scheme of things, everyone outside of their bubble was thinking, England to win, you know, favourites, whatever. Whereas Jordan was like, no, this is just a part of the bigger picture. So looking at the bigger picture, they won't be happy with the way that they finished. And it is a nice wake-up call for them going into that semi-final.
Yeah, and it's, if anything, a nice opportunity just to get everyone back together, get them in the team room,
totally agree.
but then also just the odd little finger point, you know, right, you know, because Morgan's not like that, you know, free spirits, let's all go and express ourselves and everything like that, but just a nice little sort of time just to go, right, boys, come on.
Sometimes the captain has to show just a bit of authority. You can't sit back there and reflect on another lovely win. The captain's obviously
not always the captain. Remember we spoke about Gale again when we had it in 2016 against Afghanistan. If you had just turn the TVs off after you see Shazad and Gale dancing, you'd think, oh, they've qualified, they're happy as Larry, they'll go back into the nets and make it. No, we got a right bollock in the dressing room. So it doesn't always have to be captain or the coach, because sometimes they can become monotonous as well. You get a senior player together and then call out one or two guys or call out the team performance as a whole. And then you say, you know what, I just call you out, but let me go and have a drink. Sit down and have a chat with the person by the bar. And that's what really brings and builds team camaraderie, and they got loads of it. They've been playing together for 4 or 5 years.
And also, I think they'll know that as well, won't they? They won't need to, you know, have an ear, but it's just nice just to sort of, you know, clear the air and freshen out. England will know that that wasn't a great performance in the field.
The last thing you want in the dressing room is you know you did something crap and someone come telling, oh, tough luck. No, it's not tough luck. I did crap. Tell me that I did crap. Let me address it and move on.
It's getting down to the sharp end now.
Yeah, and if they got that sort of camaraderie in the dressing room, which it looks as though they do, you won't see that performance again, I'm sure.
Let's hear from the man of the match. It was a terrific innings, this Van der Dussen. I mean, it really was, and he looked exhausted afterwards. Absolutely. He made 94 from just 60 balls, some wonderful sixes, and he's been speaking to Pommy and Bungwa.
Tell me about the intent of the side today and the way you guys went out there.
Yeah, thanks, Pommy. Obviously, in the context, doesn't mean too much, but we knew we had to get a good score on the board, and then hopefully, I mean, we've asked so much of the bowlers this tournament already, and we're asking probably too much for them today to defend them or to get us into the semis, but the batting did okay today, and I mean, at the end of the day, still a good performance, beating a pretty good side. So
tell me about the surface and how you found it. Seemed a tough day for the bowlers and a better day for the batsmen.
Yeah, I think it's a type of wicket where if you get in as a batter, you're a lot more effective than a new guy coming in, and we saw that towards their innings at the back where they lost wickets, and it was just tough for the guys to get going. So Aiden and myself knew that if we took it to the end, we'll put a competitive total on.
And in terms of batting generally in the UAE, the approach you guys would use as you go out to try and gauge how many you need each time you go out?
Yeah, it's been actually a bit tough, actually, Pommy. The three venues are so different. So, I mean, the other day against Bangladesh, we had a wicket that went around and bounced and moved off the seam, and it's really tough to bat there. And today we get a low one, and I mean, Dubai has its own challenges as well. So I think that's, from a batting point of view, that's been the challenge the whole tournament, and probably the batting units that have adapted the quickest have been the most successful.
Okay, well played today. I'll let you go, and congratulations on the prize, even though it may seem a bit hollow. It was good to watch you.
Thank you so much.
It really was. He batted magnificently. 94 not out, and Mark Crum scoring 52 in that stand of 103 from 8.4 overs, 52 balls. We'll hear from Owen Morgan shortly. Before we do, let's just have a quick talk about Australia, shall we? And West Indies too. I mean, it's all quite emotional. All of that, saying goodbye to two of your mates, I suppose. I mean, Chris Gale, just such a massive character, let alone the actual batting of the man. But how do you feel watching him play there for what we're assuming is the last time? I mean, he's giving his kit away there at the end, so it's a fair indication.
Yeah, it was disappointing. Obviously, sat here for the first couple of games and seeing everyone in the team looking a shadow of the former self. So much questions being raised about team selection and all that, and then basically closing out the tournament, second to last game at a whimper. Then to see that energy and enthusiasm and emotion is a world tournament. You got two legacies that will live on for however long, and because you had a bad performance, it shouldn't overshadow 10, 15, 18 years that they've been at the top and doing well and representing the people of the Caribbean so highly, whether it be for West Indies or in franchise cricket. So for me, it was real heartening to see that amongst all the disappointment of what was the performance in the actual tournament, that these two legends of the game could still be celebrated. And that's one thing personally I've always looked on at West Indies cricket and be a little bit embarrassed by. When you look at Australia or England, they celebrate their legends so well that if I'm 9, 10, 11 years old and I see you getting a testimonial year or you got a testimonial match and you got this picture of you in the dressing room or in the tea room, I want to be there. In the West Indies, I think we take it for granted that players just become great overnight, and it's probably a product and a bad product of our past success or whatever. But to see two of them highlighted the way that they were so positively, I know that it's probably inspired one or two young players in the Caribbean to try to get to that position where they can be holding their hands in the bat aloft and coming after a guard of honor, that type of thing. That was real heartwarming.
Yeah. I think also, not only sort of legends of the game and what have you, but sort of, I don't know if it's the right word, the sort of pioneers of T20, really. I mean, they sort of stand for T20, don't they, a little bit?
Yeah,
Chris Gale, Bravo.
Well, they gave up Test cricket for T20.
When Pollard retires, it'll be a similar story, because Pollard has, I don't know if he still does, also have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he has a first-class average of 40. Never had any interest of playing for Test cricket. T20 was the way forward, and at the time it was disputed, but he made his mind up, he made his bed, and he's laid in it. And Chris and Bravo would have played Test cricket and they would have done well. And the thing is, it just goes to show how good they have been at cricket, full stop, that we always remember them of T20. Gale got 2 triple centuries in Test cricket. Bravo got 6 for in Australia, 3 Test centuries. So they're good cricketers who at the right time fell into the lap of T20 cricket and dominated it. But within their own right, in any format of the game, they're quality cricketers, quality human beings, and everything that they get from here on in they deserve.
Do they give stands? Name a stand after Chris? Has he already got one?
He's got a stadium. A country. Jamaica's now been renamed the Republic of the Universe Boss.
I haven't. Yeah.
Do you think? We talked briefly earlier, Carlos, about Gale's future, and because of this alter ego, and because of where he is, and because he walks around, he's so cool and so on. Could he be used as a coach stroke role model? So could you see him being that sort of that bloke who hits balls, or that
personally,
person who's dog sticking? No,
I can't see Chris doing it. But what I think he would be is a good mentor. You always look for that person as a mentor or part of the coaching staff who may not be the most skillful, may not say the most, but whenever they speak, the words are impactful. I think Chris will be that type of person. If you tell him, look, I need you for the next 2 years, here's a contract for 2 years, I need you to ensure that the future of West Indies T20 cricket is in good hands. I want you to be there. I want you to share your experiences, share your knowledge to all the young players. When as a player, he doesn't share unless you ask. And that's just him. He's just private. You come and ask him, he tell you. But I want you to actually tell them. And then when you get into a dressing room and foolishness is happening and you see it happening, let them know. You got all rights to say whatever you want to say.
Too much
do whatever you want to do. And when Chris Gale talk, people will listen. So I think that is his bridge.
I love that Bayesian word, foolishness. I love it. It's such a good word. Thank you, you two. No more foolishness from you tonight. Thanks for your company, though. That was good fun. Thanks for doing that. And we're going to catch up with, therefore, the 2 captains involved today. We're talking to Pommy and Bang. We're going to start with Owen Morgan.
Morgs, first of all, what does that game do for you as a side?
I think it does a lot. Pommy, I thought it was a really good wicket. South Africa came really hard at us, batted really well. I think we were a little bit off in the field. I thought we bowled reasonably well and held them to around about a par score. So coming off, obviously, being advantageous with the dew coming in later on, we thought we were right in the game. Obviously, Jason Roy going down in the manner that he did, being one of our premium batsmen, does hurt you when you chase things down. But still, to get that close, we felt as if we were in the game right throughout.
Some might say that in the tournament leading up to this particular game, you weren't tested. Do you feel you come through the test because you qualify, or what do you think about the test for your team?
I think every game tests us in different ways. I think the biggest test probably throughout this group stage has been against Sri Lanka. I think having to bat first, a charger, when the dew came in, Joss Butler rescued us out of a hole, and from there, one of our bowlers going down, trying to defend a low score. I thought that's been our biggest test, and we came through that with flying colours. Today, different challenge, better wicket. Our batters could be more expressive. Our bowlers had to go into a little bit more of a defensive mode. So I'd say 2 different challenges, and probably Sri Lanka a bit tougher.
throw forward a little bit. Big game come up. You can't afford to slip up there. How do you deal with Roy out? And I know Wood comes in for Mills, but injuries as you go into the business end.
Yeah, here we've dealt with a lot of injuries throughout this tournament and pre-tournament. You know, Stokes, Curran, Archer not here. Tymal goes down. Possibly Jason be assessed tomorrow. We do have a lot of talent coming in, so that gives us a huge amount of confidence. I think over the last couple of years, having built a core group of white ball players allows us to delve into that depth and really explore it.
Are you happy?
Very happy. Finished top of the group. We know how hard it is to get through to those latter stages. Takes a little bit of pressure off. You know, finals of a tournament are all about going and expressing yourself, enjoying them. So we're going to embrace that as much as we can.
All the best with that.
Thank you, Pong. Thank you.
Yeah, Captain of England, Owen Morgan. Now to speak to Themba Bavuma, Captain of South Africa. Congratulations on the win. I know that may seem hollow. How important is it, though, the win itself?
Yeah, the win was important. Bit of a bittersweet ending for us. I think we achieved what we wanted to do in terms of winning the game. We obviously didn't win it well enough. I think there's not much that I can discredit the guys on out in the field. With the bat, you know, we gave it all our fault, and with the ball, I think we were good. We were largely good. So yeah.
You must then reflect on where you miss it, because net run rate is not something that surprises anyone at the end of a tournament. It's always there, and do you guys then plan for it as you turn up here?
Yeah, look, I mean, at the start of the tournament, to be honest, it wasn't a big factor for us. We always felt that we wanted to win the game. I think it was always going to be tough leaving it till the last game to bring that net run rate into effect, especially against a top outfit like England. But I think with that being said, you know, I think there's a lot that we can be proud of as a team. You know, an inexperienced young side like this coming and winning 4 out of 5, I think there's a lot we can take out from it.
In terms of going forward and planning, it's not long. You kind of have a little bit, and then there's another World Cup and another World Cup to come. What does this performance in the tournament here mean for you as a side?
I think we got to build on the confidence and momentum that we've gained. I think this is going to give us a lot of experience, and I think that tag of us being a young, inexperienced side, hopefully that can fall away. There's obviously learnings that we can take from this World Cup going forward to see how best we can do things going forward.
Okay, thanks for your time and bad luck.
Thank you.
Both captains with Pommy and Bangwa, with South Africa beating England by 10 runs, lots of sixes, terrific partnerships. What's caught your eye, Andy Zoltzman?
Well, something that didn't happen that I was hoping would happen, and that was Jos Buttler reaching 200 runs without being out in T20 cricket. He fell 2 runs short of that, 198 runs in his last 3 innings. 71 not out against Australia, 101 not out against Sri Lanka, 26 today. If he got 2 more aggers, and that was off 114 balls, that's 198 runs with a total of 12 sixes and 14 fours. 2 more, he'd have only been the 7th player in men's T20 international cricket to make 200 runs without being out. A sort of cross matches double century after Aaron Finch, David Warner, Hashim Amla, Martin Guptill, Glenn Maxwell. And any guesses of the 6th name on that list?
No.
Shahriar Butt of Belgium.
Our old friend from
who
this European cricket's getting a mention now, is it, with the hat tricks and so on?
Yeah, well, he absolutely took Luxembourg and the Czech Republic to the cleaners. England have had 6 wins in a row, 4 in this tournament, and the last 2 they played last summer, which equal their best run in T20 cricket over the last 10 years, but were unable to restrain their opponent's scoring. Now, this is the first power play bowling in which they've failed to take at least 3 wickets, just 1 today. South Africa didn't get away from them early on, but crucially had those wickets in hand, and we talked a lot about the impact of power play wickets on the eventual score and the run rate that teams achieve over the remaining 14 overs of an innings. And looking at England specifically, they've won 18 of their last 20 games when they've taken 2 or more wickets bowling in the power play. When they've taken 0 to 1 wickets in their last 20 games, won 9, tied 1, lost 10. So it did make a huge difference. And this England side in particular, we've seen how effective their bowling has been, which has been a bit of a weakness over the last few years in T20. But today they were unable to perform as well as they have done. Moeen, another good performance from him, bowled 4 overs straight through as he did earlier in the tournament. No England bowler had bowled a 4-over opening spell in T20 cricket in 15 years. For South Africa, we saw Rassie van der Dussen's fine innings you were talking about. That's the highest for South Africa in the T20 World Cup, 94 not out from just 60 balls. And Kagiso Rabada,
Yes.
a curious
This is the one.
hat-trick in the outfield. Remember Stephen Finn having a similar one for England in the World Cup in 2015, but South Africa's first hat-trick in men's T20 international cricket. Marizanne Kapp has one for their women's team.
All caught on the boundary. Andrew, thank you very much indeed.
Just one more. Yes. Anrik Nortje bowled as the 14th over of the innings, was the fastest recorded over in the database in the last 3 T20 World Cups.
Is that right?
At 147 kilometres an hour on average.